It's time for Q&A in the Kitchen. It's a podcast and YouTube series where tattoo artists and piercer talk about some of the more common questions that people that either tattoo or get tattooed or pierce or get pierced may have. Brought to you in part by Skin Kitchen Tattoo and the Axiom Body Piercing Studio. What we're going to talk about today is, should apprentices get paid? But before I do that and we get into the topic, I'm going to let you know who's here. We have the Do Crew, the crew here at the Skin Kitchen Axiom. Over to my right, at least that was what it was when I woke up this morning. We have Jimmy St. John, tattoo artist at the Skin Kitchen. Right next to me is Jack Lowe, tattoo artist and owner of the Skin Kitchen. I'm DaVo. I own and operate the Axiom Body Piercing Studio. I'm a piercer. And then there's Brent Starr.
Hiya.
Tattoo artist at the Skin Kitchen. Okay, so who wants to start this one off?
Doesn't matter.
I'll go. Usually the way I've thought of it is it's an education. You're going somewhere to learn something, to enrich yourself, and you're investing kind of in your future, hoping that this investment in time and money will lead to a career or better things, at least a job. And normally when you're receiving something of value, you pay for it. I can't think of really any other time where someone has a product to give you money to take.
Yeah.
It really doesn't make any sense to me. So if you're, thinking of, I'm going to go learn this skill so I can, have a career, and so I'm going to go work here and get paid. I mean, it seems kind of ridiculous to me. Nobody gets paid to go to college,
That's how
well, they're not yet, but But anyway, no, it's you're investing your time and your money to enrich your mind and hopefully have a career in the future. That's an investment you're taking. Will it maybe not work out? Sure. Just like any other investment may not work out. It's a gamble. So it's no different in the way I see it in tattooing.
Okay, so this is the thing that people are trying to avoid. And we've all encountered it at some time, or at least I have, not in a studio I worked in, but seeing it in other studios, and maybe you guys have come across this before. They hire a very attractive, it's usually a female, to apprentice. Now, while they're apprenticing, they're answering the phones, they're taking appointments, they're cleaning the whole shop, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're running and picking up laundry, they're doing all this stuff. And during that, they're there about 6 months to a year and never learn anything about the art they're supposedly there to get educated towards. It's like a way of grifting in somebody to volunteer to be at the studio and do absolutely
like a sucker play.
Yes, it is.
You're like, hey, look, I'll give you this if you do that, and then you never intend to pay.
And I know of two occasions. One, I don't know what her skill level was, and then she went to another studio, and then it fell apart for lots of reasons. But when they eventually got to the point where they're like, okay, well, after complaining about this situation, they're like, okay, we'll do this tattoo. They haven't taught them anything. And then, of course, it sucked. Mm-hmm. And they're like, okay, I got to let you go.
That's why it's important to make sure you do some research on the school you're going to attend, look at some reviews and check out, the kind of things they teach and how. Yeah, again, it's really no different to me, in my mind. And I think it's gotten a lot easier over the years.
Yeah,
I mean, back in the day when you wanted to get into it, it was...
It
was
a hazing.
Yeah.
You got a lot of doors slammed in your face.
It was.
All kinds of stuff.
And part of that is minimizing the amount of... I mean, there's a lot of people that would love and learn to tattoo, or at least they think they do.
Yeah.
And so, okay, show me that you truly want it. You just not because you think it's neat, not that you're going to use it for a hobby.
Look cool.
Which I'm not saying those things are wrong, but for me to pass the knowledge that I've gained to you, I don't want to give it to just anyone. I want to make sure that you are really going to cherish this information and you are going to use it for good.
Right.
So there is a lot of hazing that goes into it. It's a lot like college. 90% of college is hazing. And I'm talking about the classes and the bullshit you go through, is to see if you really want it. How many people would become doctors if it was easy?
Right.
Then you'd have a bunch of crazy wackos that don't really care about being a doctor. So it's the same thing in the tattoo industry. It's like, okay, you're going to have to deal with every type of person under the sun. You're going to have moments where you are the most uncomfortable, caged animal feeling because of whatever reason, and you're going to have to be that type of person to deal with it. I don't want to send you as a cattle to slaughter without knowing that there are ways that I have to come at you kind of hard to see how you react, and if you're not reacting right, I have to tell you why, and then you learn. It's all a part of it.
Sure.
It's a lot like, I always looked at it as like, kind of a cross between picking a college to go to and joining the military.
Yeah, there's a lot of
like, you're broke down. Like when you join the military, they know you can scrub a toilet and mop a floor when you get there, but they make sure that you can do it the way that they need it done, and that you can handle the pressure and the,
and get rid of your ego,
right.
really.
Yeah, you're being broke down to be built back up better.
Yeah.
That's the point. And that's a lot like a tattoo apprenticeship. Like Jack said, it's like going to college. Nobody gets paid yet to go to college. Like when, you pay astronomical amounts. That's why we have loan forgiveness and all that crap going on right now, because it's expensive. But you're learning a trade, hopefully, to go out and apply in your life. For example, you can learn to be, a painter or a doctor or a art major or whatever in college. That doesn't guarantee you're going to do that job when you get out. When you tattoo, you're more guaranteed almost under apprenticeship if you do it and you're able to do it and you're adaptable to it and you can learn and you're willing to be taught the ways to do it. Then more likely you're going to stay in this field when you get out of it. Most apprentices that graduate tattoo or pierce. Yeah. The ones that get weaned out along the way, they don't. Because they didn't have what it took to do it. That's why they're not doing it.
And you can, it could, the way I see it, it's either, you can pay for this knowledge with money. You come in, you give me money, you do what I say for whatever an agreed on kind of rough amount of time. Some people learn a lot faster. Other people's, you got to beat them a little more. Or you can work for that knowledge. So that means, yes, you do scrub the floors. Yes, you do the grunt work. You go get me a sandwich if I'm hungry. You are working for me, giving me something of value, which is all these tasks you're completing, and I will in turn give you the knowledge that I've learned and teach you to tattoo.
And that's worth more than any money
amount
in
the world, right?
That you could be giving.
You can go that's the thing about tattooing. Right. You can go anywhere in the world, and do this craft. Anywhere. There's not a place on this planet you can't go and make a living and use your craft.
Especially now with battery-powered machines.
Right. Exactly. The natural disaster relief area, you got a battery and a headlamp.
Yeah, man. You are banging out tattoos that I was there, big flood thing with dead
typhoon ones
people.
And hurricane symbols.
No.
I'm just saying. But you can take this craft and go anywhere you want, but you're paying for it with a lot more than just money. You're paying with your time, your
you got to prove that you're dedicated
strength,
to it.
It's
make it worth our time.
It's a lot of dedication. It's a lot to it.
Because there's nobody that could ethically or that's going to really get you anywhere that's going to give you an apprenticeship because they're going to get a few grand.
Nope.
That's not how it works. That's just part of seeing. That's just part of seeing if you're serious,
right?
And there are people out there that do.
There's tattoo schools and all that kind of stuff.
Schools that would avoid, piercing schools, weekend seminars.
What I'm getting at is they're still getting screwed because the amount of time it takes and the amount of focus it takes off of your work and what you're doing, so you can try to teach this person. Right. It's a huge cost. That's why unless you're serious, unless you're really going to do something with this, I do not have time for you.
Right.
So prove to me that you're going to be worth my time, because whatever you're paying me and grabbing me a sandwich or giving me a couple grand
it's not replacing what I'm giving up.
It's not really worth it. I'm doing this because I'm going to get some satisfaction out of seeing you grow, and at the end, when you're at the top of the mountaintop, I can go, hey, I kind of taught that person something way back when.
Yeah, start.
It's really more about that. If someone really has really cherishes the knowledge they have. And usually if you do, that means you've put a lot of effort and time into it because you've loved it for long enough to gather all that knowledge, and you're going to get the best education from that person.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's why I think it's important to pass on your passion to your apprentice.
Exactly that.
I think a lot of people don't do that. The other thing is I like the word mentor a lot more than maybe some of the things I've heard in the past, like master and all this other crap. Mainly because mentor shows that you have some responsibility and some investment in the person that is actually apprenticing underneath you.
Right, and
their well-being and making sure they're okay and safe and feel comfortable is part of your responsibility as a teacher and instructor.
Right.
It's kind of like the kung fu thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like Karate Kid, you know?
Yeah.
And everybody's... I'm sorry, but if everybody's going to know that you apprentice this person, so you don't want to apprentice someone who's a dick,
right?
No, you know, you don't want to turn somebody out that you can tell just is kind of has those tendencies that, man, they might not be the most honorable, they might not be the most stand-up kind of person, and I don't. It's just like when you tattoo someone, you know, I mean, I want to do what you want me to do, but everybody is going to put my name on that too. You know, I'm even if you know I don't want to do a tattoo that, in my opinion, shows bad qualities in my work, because everybody's going to look at that and go, "Well, he did it though,
right?
So he must like it or must think it looks good." And it's usually never a problem, but it's really the same thing. Having pride in your work. It's the same thing when you're teaching someone. You should have pride
in teaching them.
Have pride in that person, and not just hand it to some jerk who's going to be kind of carrying you with them as they go. And
you're a forever co-signer with this person. You're kind of signing off on them.
Yeah.
My mentor, when I was coming along, I remember, man, I thought he was rough. Like, he would scream at us. He would kick the mop buckets over when he'd come in, and just, I was like, God, he's being an ass. And he pulled me aside one day and he was like, the reason why we freak out on you so bad, and we really just are like a Karen, just unpleasable for a moment. He's like, because you're going to get those customers, no matter how good you made the appointment, no matter how, how much in depth you went on your consult to find out what they want, and you do everything you can to please them. There's going to be customers that act irate, they're not happy, they're unpleasable, they're screaming, they're showing their butt in the shop. You have to stay cool and calm, and you have to be able to deal with that when they do that. If I come in and scream and kick the mock bubble over, and you're like, what the blah, blah, if that's how you're going to react, you're going to react that way with the customer, and that's not okay. Yeah. You can't have that. This is, as much as you want.
You got to trust Mr. Miyagi when he's telling you to stay on the floor.
Stay on the floor, bro, because it's going to work later.
And that does affect your tattooing too. Like when you take a hit, your ego takes a hit like that.
Yeah.
Your mental standing. When you come into the next tattoo, you're kind of wondering. Like, oh man, I don't know if I.
Maybe they're right.
Maybe they're right. Maybe I suck. Maybe whatever. That definitely is something to keep in mind.
You sure you can do this? You sure you can do this? You sure
so
you can
it
do this?
makes sense that you'd be tested in that sense.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of great tattooers that stopped tattooing because they couldn't handle that that personal side of it. They can sit there and create a gorgeous tattoo, but they just don't know how to they just don't operate with other humans well, and they can't handle that pressure. Quick story: I was talking to a guy who ran a shop, and he was teaching a kid, and so he got him up and going and doing this tattoo for on a practice guy. Got him going and left the room for a little bit. Came back, and the customer was sitting there. The tattoo was started, but his apprentice wasn't there. And the guy said, "Yeah, I don't know." He said I think he had to go to the bathroom, but he's been gone a little while. So he goes and checks on his apprentice, and he said he was literally huddled in a corner saying, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do it, I can't do it, and never tattooed again.
Oh, shit.
He just kind of had this mental breakdown. Now that's not, I'm just not saying that's common, but it maybe in a small way illustrates that there is such a bigger component, a mental component to what we do, that coming over and kicking the mop bucket, or coming over and startling you while you are working, although it seems cruel and unusual punishment at the time, really all those little experiences are just going to make it not that weird next time, and you're going to know a little bit better how to handle it.
Yeah, it builds you up.
There's a lot of mental fortitude to tattoo, man. Like, because you're doing something on someone who's going to change how they appear, their appearance to themselves, how they perceive themselves, how they perceive other people perceive them, how they feel they look out, in the world. Like, and it's it's not permanent, but it's as long as you last, it's pretty long time.
Yeah, and,
so
in part,
it's a lot of pressure.
And I think that in part shows that you do care about what you're doing. You're not taking it so flippantly that you're just going to jam through things. Yeah. So there's a healthy amount of that, I think like most things.
And I think when you're starting, you begin to go, this is permanently going to alter how this person looks.
Absolutely.
And that's a big fear thing.
Yeah.
And then over time, you still think about it
stays
occasionally.
In your head always.
But it's guarded. It's like, yes, but I'm not going to do that.
But I know I can do
this up.
Right.
One of the things about it is there is like a federal statute or law on apprenticeships that they're supposed to be paid. And it's part of the National Apprentice Program. Mm-hmm. A majority of, if you go through this on the accredited apprenticeships, they're usually in manufacturing, fabrication, and construction.
Yep.
And it was prime examples. It was kind of like what I was talking about with the endless counter girl apprentice situation, where they would hire bricklayers and have them do all the tote work and all.
And never teach them to lay bricks.
And never teach them to lay bricks. Never paid them. You're doing an apprenticeship. You're going to be making $50,000.
Right.
And just kept these kids in perpetual, servitude.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I have with like that is art apprenticeship is an entirely different animal.
Mm-hmm.
We're not a large company. In everybody that works in most studios, not all of them, but a majority of them, works off of as a subcontractor, and their payment is based on the job.
Mm-hmm.
So what I always tell people when they ask me about this, it's like, they don't want to pay me for, the first. I'm like, they need to give you a clear path of this. Okay, if you do this and we get to this point, when we get around this area, then you're going to see a little bit of money.
You don't need, at least in our state, in Iowa, you don't need a piece of paper from me certifying that you can go do that job now.
Yeah.
Anybody in this state can go get licensed to be a tattooer. You don't even have to have held a tattoo machine before or held a pen and drawn anything in your life ever. So, you don't need me. You can go do this on your own. You are choosing to be more prepared, upgrade your knowledge, know more so you can do a good job. So if you want to invest and to buy really good machines that may not do anything for you down the road, or maybe go learn something from somebody who may not teach you anything that can help you down the road, hey, buddy, you bought it. Yeah. If you want to invest in that, fine. You don't have to go through me. I'm not forcing you to go through my program, so I'm going to pay you something because you have to do it. You are choosing on your own free will to go, hey, man, what do you take for that pickup truck? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I go, well, man, I don't really need to sell it.
Yeah.
But so $20,000. Well, it's worth 10. Okay, then don't buy it.
Right.
It's up to you. So you decide to invest in something or not with no guarantee. I think these days people are just, they're used to that guarantee. Like, well, what the hell, man? Without me, I couldn't what? Focus more on my job, give more time to my clients. It's not all about you sucker.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking something from me, and for me to be willing to do that, you have to give me these things. Sure. It's really that easy. If you don't see the value in it, if you think that's overpriced, don't buy it.
And that's and you need to have that conversation with your mentor or your chosen mentor beforehand.
Right from the get-go.
You need to go, okay, so if I go through this apprenticeship, are you going to give me a chair in your studio?
Yeah.
And that's a big deal in most cases, especially if it's a well-established studio, maybe a smaller studio like we are. We're more boutique and more high-end. Now, if it's a Joe Smo, mall shop, or not saying everything in the mall is terrible.
Well, it's still your foot in the door.
It's going to get your foot in the door, but they may give you a chair, but are you going to make enough money there to actually sustain a career?
Yeah. Well, some places have a contract with you that after your apprenticeship is officially considered over, that you have to, or you are in contract to work there for 3 years or 5 years from there on. So there is that's when the payback really comes to the maybe the person who taught you is they're really, it's a long, just like you, it's a long-term investment. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did clean my toilets, blah blah blah, but at the end of this you're going to profit way more, and that's going to mean nothing. At the same way, I'm hoping that even though you cleaned my toilets, that hopefully down the road you're not going to just pick up and leave after I've done all this to give you this knowledge that you're not going to just skate down.
And back in the day, you used to have to sign a no-compete contract, which meant like, okay, I finished my apprenticeship. I'm going to work at your arch enemy across the street, or I'm going to go open a tattoo shop next door to you and try to pillage your business. And like there was a lot of that went on, back in the day.
It still does.
Yeah, it still does.
And see that, there should be an ethical loyalty without that contract. I still put it in my apprenticeship.
I had to sign one of
mine.
The
problem is that they're next to impossible to win.
Yeah.
To enforce.
Yes, they are.
It's more about, and that's why I'm a big fan of contracts. That contract, I don't ever see it going to court. I hopefully it never does.
Right.
But I mean, the main point of it is like, here's how things work.
Right.
This is what you're agreeing
to.
This is the relationship that we're going to have. And this, it's just kind of like a wedding vow.
Back in the days when we started out, it was mostly with like the bikers and the guys like that they ran the tattoo world. Yeah. And like, you weren't worried about going to court. You were worried about getting a brick through the window or hammers on your hand.
Well, you hope that people stick to their word.
Yeah.
Right. And even though, you might know and they might know that this contract is going to be hard to deal with if it ever had to be enforced, at least they're showing that I'm willing to at least get on my belly or on my back that much to show, hey, this probably won't hold up if whatever, but at least, hey, look, I'm willing to sign it anyway, because there is a possibility.
Some kind of ethic.
Even, it at least, and if they bring that up as a big question, well, wait, what about this? Well, then they're showing you that they've got other plans, and maybe your time would be well spent.
Yeah, because I always like to, whenever I take an apprentice, I want to have that long-term conversation.
Yeah.
I want to know, okay, so what are your plans? You want to eventually open your own studio in Fairbanks, Alaska?
Right.
Or are you planning on staying with me? And am I going to be able to financially
have you
support
given us any thought?
I kind of need to figure these things out in advance. Otherwise, you get down this road and you end up with another competitor who's using your name, your images, everything you paid for, the jewelry that you stock, everything else. It's not, so-and-so of blah, blah, blah. It's so-and-so that apprenticed under you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This person trained you.
Yeah, and that's where your name is always kind of connected. So an artist choosing an apprentice is just as important as the apprentice approaching the artist that they think is going to do a good job.
And I think part of what most of these people that are pushing for this now is like, they should get an hourly wage. Most studios, smaller studios, simply cannot afford to hire 3 people and pay them $15 an hour and everything else, regardless of how busy it is. It's not part of the business plan. In most cases, we're subletting.
We're all independent contractors.
And I always use the explanation, and they're like, well, that's a weird way to run business. Have you ever been to a barber shop?
Right.
That's exactly the way they are ran.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And beauty salons.
Most hair salons.
Right.
Yeah.
You're responsible for all your equipment. You're responsible for all your stuff. You're responsible to keep up with your clientele, your business cards, your area, how it's decorated or whatever, your knickknacks, all your stuff. You're solely responsible for that. You're solely responsible for the cost of it. You're solely responsible for your taxes.
It's kind of like a strip mall. Or like I see these little shopping centers that you walk in. Somebody builds a shopping center, puts in a bunch of booths and says, hey, who wants to open business in here? It's really kind of in a little bit of twisted way like that. If someone, say a single artist wants to open a tattoo studio, well, they're going to invite other tattooers. Hey, if you want to all kind of tattoo under one roof, clientele all comes together. It'd probably be a good thing that if there was 3-4 of us doing it here, I got rooms for rent. And so other artists come and they go, yeah, man, I'll run my business out of here. Right. It's really kind of that same deal usually.
And I know people kind of look at it, well, then you're roommates. I'm like, no. As the owner, you're responsible for all the utilities.
Yep.
You're responsible for keeping the roof over the head. If they're in most leases, if there's something physically wrong with the building, you have to pay for it. You're taking care of most of the advertising, the promotion.
Exactly.
You're making sure that the licensing is kept up, and you're basically managing all these artists, and you're also on top of that probably hiring a couple people to handle scheduling.
And that's a big benefit to, the other artists that are there, because they don't have to deal with any of it.
Right.
No.
What they are giving back to that building is taking care of all that just with what they pay to be there.
Their percentage that they give.
And on top of that, they're working with like-minded people. They're switching and swapping clientele. They're in
Art
with
ideas.
other artists that might have wider reach than them, so they're getting a benefit of getting exposure to other things. Yeah. So there's all these benefits to it, but
absolutely,
it's typically that's how it runs. And the way I've seen it, if an artist owns the studio, not just a guy who got some money because their so and so passed away, and they're like, man, I've always wanted to own tattoo shop.
Yeah, that's a whole other animal.
And then it gets run really uncomfortably for everyone.
People always ask me about like studios. Like, there's a couple in town, and it's like, okay, you have to understand the person that owns that and operates it does not tattoo, does not pierce, does not have. They may have them, but they have no idea how to run it properly. Right. And the biggest issue you're going to have is they'll hire freaking anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because they don't know any better.
I have people come in and go, I got this done at blah, blah, blah. Look, it's great. And I'll go, yeah, that's a pretty decent tattoo or a piercing. But I saw 15 other ones come from that same studio that were totally awful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's part of, if you want to excel as an artist, you need to be in an artist studio. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a commune in that way.
There's a lot of difference when we always talk about, a custom studio versus a street shop.
Yeah.
A lot of your street shops are owned by people that don't tattoo, or it's an investment. It's in and out turnover. How many people do I got? I got that many people can turn this many people out. That's how much money we're making. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it's about.
And it's more going towards the individual artist creating a brand for themselves,
right?
As a collective, usually of artists, with the crew that they choose to surround themselves with, but they're still kind of their own. Like Michael Jordan was a part of the Bulls, but Michael Jordan has his own brand too, and that benefited the Bulls because, hey man, we got Michael Jordan,
right?
And Michael Jordan's like, hey man, I'm playing on the Bulls, so
a helpful relationship.
So and you really can't build a studio like that if you're not a tattooer, because. It's if any artist out there that's worked for both, who's worked for a shop who was owned by just a guy, and then another one that was run by an artist who works alongside them, it's always way more. It's just way better, in my opinion, in my experiences, that you're working for an artist because they know how to run the business better. They know what it takes to do your job. They don't just look at you like all you do is draw.
Right. Like, why can't you do 5 more of these a day?
They really look at a tattoo and really don't even know what they're looking at.
No,
and they're going to be the same people that go, why are we paying this much for the paper towels when I can get these for half the price?
Right.
And it's like, well, we get those because if we don't, they fall apart. They're not going to do what they properly need to do, etc.
It's a towel, and then things like that end up happening. It's hard.
It is.
It's hard to work at a place that's run.
I've done both sides, and like I said, I part ownered with a guy like that one time, and it was rough.
Yeah,
and you're constantly battling. Well, why don't we get these? They're cheaper. Well, because those suck, and they don't. Half of them break when you use them. They're not worth the damn.
And it's hard when your boss doesn't care about the product you're putting out, but you do.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why am I even trying?
Right. And usually they're the places they're going to hire you for minimum wage to apprentice to pierce.
Well,
and they're going to give you about an hour of training, and they're going to let you loose, and you're never going to learn anything ever again.
They're the people that look at how much you make and go, okay, well, you only need this much to live on. The rest of that percentage is mine.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not based on your skill, your loyalty, your nothing. It's based on how much they want and how much you need to live on, and that's all they're going to give you, and that's all they're ever.
They want to keep you right there.
Yeah, you can have 40% of what you make. Like, well, where's the other 60% go? I'm keeping that.
It's always a little bit more about the money than anything else.
Right.
Always.
And if you really don't care about the money, you want to tattoo, and for whatever reason, that's the place you like to be, and that makes you happy, and you don't really need much to live, then man, you are freer than the guy that needs more money and is there just for the money. So it might be okay for some people, but because I don't know.
And a lot of artists starting out, like it's hard. It was hard to get in a spot, especially in a really good studio.
Yeah.
So like you would take a lower percentage or whatever and work for these people because you wanted a tattoo.
Yeah.
You wanted to do more tattoos to be a better tattoo artist.
It's kind of like why the casting couch exists.
Exactly.
Like how bad do you want it?
Come on, you want to be a superstar or not?
Come on over here.
I'm never.
Even though we have a couch, we don't have a couch.
No, our couch is clean.
Just to be clear.
Without gloves.
Yeah.
It's a love seat.
That's why they call it love seat.
Yeah, it was funny.
So sticky.
after we actually set up the studio, we were joking about, we just rent it out on the weekends for porn.
Yeah,
and then we started thinking about it. It's like,
then we'd have to sit on plastic and it'd be all crinkly.
Because from when you're sitting on this side, you can totally see it looks kind of like a porno shoot. Got some seedy looking cameras and some seedy looking lights with ball jars hanging over them.
Seedy looking people.
Dave was like, I wish they were fucking light bulbs with ball jars. It'd be way less expensive.
Yes, it would. It would.
Yeah, but anyway.
Because there's so much money to make on YouTube.
Oh man, we're raking it in.
Rich.
Like, invest $40 million.
Every time they click that button, it's like a slot machine going off. Ding, 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 ding.
As soon as you put in about 40 to 80 grand, you can make like 10 grand back.
Yeah.
I got like one Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right.
And
one part of a Bitcoin.
Back to the subject at hand. One of the things I was going to bring up is usually when you're looking at those smaller, if you went to any job, I don't care what job you have, if it's, artisan saw painting. If you go to that job and it's the first job you've had in that field, you are going to get paid less than the guy that's been there, or gal or whatever, that's been there for 15 years.
Well, yeah.
There will be an increase. I've watched it happen.
Right.
You start out here,
you work your way up.
Work your way up.
Yeah,
that's the benefits of being, time in the business.
But that's if a place pays you for your worth. Right. Just like well, I don't want to buy that. That costs too much. I don't see the value in it. Okay. As the same way, as an owner of a business, you would look at an employee. Well, you want $35 an hour, but you can't do most of the things I need this person to do. That I don't see the value in it. And then the next person comes and goes, I've been doing this for 75 years. I invented it, and I've got 3 patents that help me do my job and that you use every day. And you're like, holy shit, you only want $35 an hour? Sure, you are freaking hired.
On.
I think on the other side, the people that are looking for the job maybe don't realize that. Like, you are cool. You're a human. You're breathing. We can talk. Great. I mean, that's neat, but you can't do anything beyond that. And guess what? Everybody can do that.
There's because for a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, depending on how quickly you heal. Right. Or heal. That's what I talk about all day, people. Okay. How quickly you get to the point where you can work on your own. We are going to be observing you and shaping you and changing your techniques and everything else. And that takes away from us doing work. The other thing is that you may get some of our clientele, which means here I am, I'm watching you do the piercing so that you can get paid for it, but I could have easily done that and made all the money.
Right. Yep.
And I think a lot of times they don't look at it that way. Yeah. I know it sounds like I'm complaining about apprentices, but I'm not, because the worth of it is everything we talked about. It's extending.
Well, you're exposing this person to all of your clientele, and so the more clout, the more of clientele, the longer this person's been around that you want to learn from. Well, that's going to enrich you too. Right. You're going to be automatically associated with this person that's held in high regard. Now, Tommy in his basement can teach you the ins and outs, but that's not going to get you nearly as far as if you go to Harvard, because then you can say, I went to Harvard, and just that name, when you're out looking for a job, that is value.
Right. That's a lot of value.
It's the same thing. So if you're going to approach someone who's very well known at the top of the food chain and expect them to pay you so they can teach you, you're fucking nuts.
Yeah. Well, and you got to also consider this person that has all this clientele who's not doing it and making the money themselves. Not only are they allowing you the interaction with their customer, their clientele, they're letting you do that to give you the experience and more experience to learn your job and do it better. Like you're winning on every front.
Yeah.
There's nowhere that you're losing as an apprentice. The only person taking a hit is the person that's teaching you, your master, your mentor, whatever you want to call them.
Right. And they know, and there are sacrifices that you're going to have to make in your life as far as time and you're going to have
concert on a weekend. You can't go run off to parties because your buddies are out of school or whatever.
The more you sacrifice and the more you're willing to show that, hey, I'll walk through the fire because I love this, the quicker and the more freely your mentor is going to flood you with knowledge, and because he sees that, man, you're willing to do anything. This is is number one, and you are going to receive that knowledge a lot faster. Right. The people I see complaining and moaning about apprenticeships are the people who don't even go through any effort to show that they really are interested in doing it. Right. They're taking it as take it flippantly, and that's not enough to pull me away from what I'm doing.
No,
and everything
or to share
else.
what I have or I've built with you.
Exactly.
And I think the bottom line is I don't need you.
No.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the part I think most people don't understand.
Yeah.
It'd be like going into, I don't know, McDonald's when unemployment's really high.
Right.
They don't need anybody.
Yeah.
Because the place is full of people. And there's somebody that walks in and fills out an application every 20 minutes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they are fully staffed.
Yeah.
It just gets to a point where you're just like, you know what? Why would I take you
that's
on?
what inflation is. Imagine everydy's $1. See, no.
But
you have no worth.
That's really what it comes down. I didn't take on an apprentice for over a decade.
Right.
Yeah.
Partly because of some bad experiences with people, like either being mad because they'd gotten to a point and they decided that they should just be.
They don't need you.
They don't need me.
That's a classic thing.
And another thing was, they got to a point in their life where certain things changed their life, like a new child or some added expenses, and they realize, hey, I can't do this any longer because I can't afford it.
Right.
And at any point, like I was traditionally kind of apprenticed years ago, and then that didn't last too terribly long, and then some years later, I just kind of fell back into tattooing and just started tattooing with what little knowledge I had, and just kind of gained knowledge like that solo. And coming into this shop, Jack being as very gracious as he was, like I don't feel like I am done with my apprenticeship. I'm still learning.
I learn every day.
Never quit.
Yeah.
Never quit. And I don't feel that I'll ever be done learning.
No.
So,
and that's what keeps it fun.
That's what
boring.
is awesome. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
at any point,
just that knowledge of just knowing that somebody's sharing with you, something they're passionate about, and they're willing to invest in you. That says a lot. That means a lot.
It really does. At any point, in my opinion, if you've come to the point in your career, whatever it is, that there's no more that you can learn, there's nothing you can better.
Why are you doing it?
You should stop doing it. You should retire and quit.
Well, and you probably will, because it does get boring. It gets monotonous.
Exactly.
And you don't have. That doesn't mean that there's nothing more you can learn. It just means you're not willing to learn anymore.
Because there's always more to learn, no matter what.
Well, I always put there's always these key points, and well, first off, the thing is, if you want to get better at something, do it around people that are better than you.
Absolutely.
That's the only way you learn.
Right. Yeah.
And be exposed to people that are better than you or smarter than you or what have you. But I always use like the analogy that I did BMX freestyling for quite a few years, and then I was starting to discover women and alcohol, but that's that was a contributing factor.
Well, they all go hand in hand.
I was at the point where I'm just like, I'm done with this. Because I felt like nothing new had been invented in a long time, and it was all just the variations of the same thing, people doing it over and over again. Yeah. Kind of my same feeling about skateboarding, which was it all turned into ollies, just 20 kids in a parking lot doing ollies all day. Boring. Mm-hmm. Instead out skating banks and doing fun stuff. And so I remember being in Kansas City. I went down there to see Dennis McCoy, who we'd gone down there and ridden with a lot of times. And he came in and he did this trick called a fire hydrant, and it was just like, boom, all this new possibility there. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have that exposure, if you can't make that connection to other people, including your mentor, because I've been apprenticing Shannon for in November, I think it'll be 2 years. I'm still teaching her stuff.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes it's just like there has to be a click in what she's doing or what I'm watching or what have you for me to go, oh, I need to talk to her about this.
Well, if you could learn what you need to learn from me in a couple days or a week, you wouldn't need me.
No.
Right.
You wouldn't even be here, Right. So that's the whole reason you're here, because to learn what I do is going to take you a long time.
And there are going to be those, that leads to this. That all makes
Exactly.
sense
It
now.
reignites different.
And I've been here for
stuff.
2 years, and I didn't know that led to that. That's part
That's
of
why you
learning.
were sanding
That's
the
what
floor
it
the
is.
whole time. But there's
Right.
no way I could explain it to you that, hey, this isn't
Sanding,
really about sanding the
Mr.
floor.
Miyagi.
It's
Right.
about
You know,
it's about swiping.
Yeah, it's going to lead
you
to a
will
lot
be
more,
you will be told what you need to know to do the task at hand, because you don't have the foundation yet to understand why you're doing it.
Right.
But once you do it and you see the result of you doing it, you go, Mr. Miyagi, you little trickster, you.
Yeah, you can't
And then
build the
that's
third floor till the basement and the first and second floor are done.
You got
know?
to trust. You got to trust in that person. You have to, you have to make it right in yourself to go, hey, even if they're going to lead me down the wrong path, I have to decide that until that's proven to me, I'm gonna do
trust.
what they ask.
Right.
Yeah, and because it's going to pay off. Unless you chose the wrong person, even though it might seem weird that you're having to, decapitate 4 chickens, in the next in about 7-8 episodes down the road, it's going to pay off, and you will have learned, but you wouldn't have been able to understand why you were doing it until you've done it.
I thought he was just a sick, twisted chicken killer.
Mostly
but then
because
I found out he was a chef and he likes making cordon bleu.
Those were the ones that always gave him that weird
Are you going to
stink
be
eye.
tattooing that chicken later?
Maybe.
Maybe. There you go.
And a lot of us guys, like me and Brent and Jack, stay here hours and hours and hours after we're closed, drawing and working on our stuff for the next days. And there's a lot of times we'll go in there and one of us will be like, hey, man, so check this out, guys. I got a client that wants this, 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 and this. How in the world would you guys, what would you do for this? How would you make this happen? Just to bounce ideas off each other.
Oh yeah.
And
Valuable.
every one of us will come up with a different idea in drawing. And man, from those 3 ideas, you can really take off on some stuff.
And that's one of the things
I
you
love
need
it.
in a mentor is
Right.
to call them up, even after 5-10 years after you're gone, and go, hey, Charlie, I'm doing this thing, and I don't know exactly how to do this,
Right.
and the client wants this and that. What would you do? And that they're going to probably, if you have a good relationship with them, they're going to continue to say, oh, do this.
I would do it like this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
And it's just like going and seeing that guy do that trick. It opened up a whole new bang. It's easy to get stuck in kind of a rut.
To get in your way.
Yeah.
That's the way to put it.
And to keep
to
seeing-
lose your creativity over the imagination.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because it's easier to fall back on tried and true. I've done this 100 times. I'll do it like this.
I'm going to do. I'm going to do my skull this
That's
way.
where you get stagnant. You
Yeah.
want to push. I want to do it different. I've done this dragon 1,000,000 times.
And that's
how do I do this dragon completely different than anything I've ever done? Hey guys, how would you do this dragon?
That's what going to tattoo shows was for me back in the day before
me too.
internet was really solid and everything.
Yeah,
now you can just get demoralized going to Instagram.
With the contrast turn.
Worst thing to do after working all day and being
Is
proud
go
of a
peruse
tattoo
it.
you did is opening up Instagram right afterwards and going, why'd I get out of bed?
Yeah,
Yep.
I want to just kind of conclude this, and I just want
Sure.
to say a few things. First and foremost, if you are thinking or considering starting an apprenticeship, interview, sit down, talk to the person, find out what the long-term goals are of your mentor.
And yourself.
Also, make sure that everything you're getting is in writing. Make sure that you are going to be able to budget this in a way that you can afford it. Do not get into a situation where you're sitting there working for free and not be able to pay rent.
Right.
And basically, you need to find a mentor that's passionate about their art. One of the things I always do right when anybody comes in and asks me to apprenticeship is I sit down with them and I talk to them for the first 5 minutes is all about all the reasons why you don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. And if you can't get past that, then maybe this isn't the career for you.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, it's a lot of dedication, and unless you're going to be willing to show that dedication, don't expect a lot of good results from the person that you're expecting to learn from.
And I always remember, man, just because somebody tells you no doesn't mean that's it. There's a lot of people to go back to. Stay persistent. Stay on it. Work harder. Put more effort into it. If this is what you want to do, don't let anybody tell you no. Stay on it until you get it.
There's reasons, like I said, why it's hard to become a doctor. Because everybody would become a doctor if it was easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that wouldn't be good for anybody.
And lastly, about the payment thing, make sure that when you're talking to your mentor, future mentor, that you kind of discuss, okay, so how am I going to make money in the future? Am I leaving here and going somewhere else? Or are you going to pay me in some type of work versus you do the job, you get paid for it. You do the job, you get paid for it.
Right. Am I going to have to, have a part-time job just to, make ends meet, which that's just what I had to do, So,
and the other thing is never plan on having consistent paychecks every darn
Not
month.
in this industry.
That's correct.
You're going to have months where you make this much. You're going to have months where you make third of that.
Yeah, it's a very seasonal thing, man.
Especially when the recessions happen.
Yep.
So
Anyway.
yeah.
I think we beat this one pretty
On
good.
that dark note.
Yeah.
Congratulations. It's going to
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please give us a thumbs up. Let us know that you like this and you like it when you like it. If you're listening to this or watching this, you can always subscribe wherever you're doing that. We put these out about every 2 weeks. We've been a little off schedule lately because we've all been busy. It was summertime and the fair and everything else and Sturgis.
It's not all about you guys,
Yeah, every once in a while we do have to stop and take a break. Just the way life works. Also, check out our merch store. Links are in the description. Till next time, here's hoping all your tattoos and piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, we all hope to see you for your body piercing and tattooing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Take care.
Later, guys.